Okay guys, this is going to be somewhat of a different video. So let me explain to you how this come about. So in this video, you're gonna see me work through some of the wiring problems that I had on this car. Now I ended up figuring it out, but you guys are more than welcome to start taking your guesses down below in the comment section as to what you think it is. But I'm gonna work through this process as if I did not find the problem out yet. We're gonna work all the way through this, and at the end of the video, I'll show you what it was that was the problem with the car. So maybe this will help somebody. This may be a good video to share with others because we're gonna go through the whole process and talk about the differences in the wiring harnesses and what to test and how to test it and all that type stuff. Anyway, this is gonna be somewhat of a odd video, but just know that at the end of it, I did find the problem out. All right, let's go ahead and get started. It is update time, and boy, do I have an update for you. As you can see, we have the wiring harness in the car, kinda, sorta. Everything's just kinda laid up here. Just trying to make sure everything works. So nothing is tucked and in place yet. Like I said, just trying to make sure everything works. But I have run into some issues. First off though, let's address the fact that this is an 89 Mustang, meaning the dash, everything inside the car is an 89. Because that is important information considering that this is a used wiring harness that I got from somebody. So let's go ahead and cover a few things. So as you guys can see right here, these connections are black and gray. So that means that it's at least from 87 to 90, I think that's correct. Over here, these are the only connections on the end of the harness on this side of the car. So one is for your mass air, the other is for your oxygen sensors, and this is for the wide open throttle shutoff for your AC. Alright, so as you can see, there are no airbag connections, nothing like that. Alright, so the whole point in showing you that was that should verify that this is an 89 harness. Now that's important because all of these harnesses are different. So an 89 harness will work on an 87, 88 to convert it to mass air. An 87, 88 harness will work on an 89 as long as you want to convert it over to mass air. So in other words, add the pigtail. Now all of this stuff gets very, very confusing on the engine harnesses. For the ones out there that actually know what's going on with these harnesses, that's going to be one of the first questions that you ask. So the problem that we're having is I can't get the fuel pump to prime. So this is that typical problem that a lot of Foxbody owners have. So one of the first things that you do is you go back and you check the inertia switch. So we'll go ahead and cover that at least. I'll cover with you guys what little bit I know about this to help you out. And then if you don't mind, some of you guys that really know what's going on can comment, and hopefully we can figure this problem out. So right back here in the back of the car, this is your inertia switch. So if you get hit in the rear end, or the car rolls over, or maybe it even dry hops at the track or something like that, this switch right here will trip. So we have power here. Okay guys, so you can see there we have power, and on the other side we have power. So hopefully this will help other people out also. So this is not just for me. So if you're having an issue where your car will not, fire up the pumps, something like that, hopefully this video will have an answer, have a conclusion to it, and it'll help somebody else out. So let's go ahead and finish testing everything so that we can figure this thing out. All right, so right back here, now you guys have to remember, this car is not a complete car. We're still in the process of putting it together. So right here we have power to the sending unit, and we have no power on the pink wire. That is the power. The rest of this is just a ground. So as of right now, everything is just temporarily wired up in the trunk because we had everything permanently wired, but pump wouldn't turn on. Okay guys, so here we are at the relay. So the relay is located under the driver's seat. I think up to 1990 they're under the seat. 1991 and above, they're in the fender well over by your mass air meter. All right, so I'm going to switch the key on to show you guys. Key on, no pump, right? So from here we need to start doing a little bit of testing. I'm going to make this kind of quick. So we have power. This is your orange wire. Your pink wire, which is the power to the pump, obviously no fire. Red and black wire, fire, and right here. So essentially what's supposed to happen is this is supposed to send a ground signal from what I understand, meaning that the tan wire is supposed to send ground. So the way we will check that, this end of the connection up to power, switch this on, switch the key on, and now we have a ground when you switch the key on. Alright, so hopefully that covers everything here. So essentially what's happening here from what I can see is we are getting power and ground everywhere that we should be. So it appears to not be triggering the relay. I've also tested the EEC relay, and I'll show you guys where that is just to help somebody out. As you can see, I have two computers, so I've already swapped those out just to make sure that wasn't an issue. No issue there. The computer is grounded, so it does have the ground strap connected. And right back here, guys, is going to be your relay for your EEC. So this thing right here. Now, I'm not going to reach up in there and test everything for you guys, but everything has power that's supposed to have power when the key's on, and ground. EEC relay seems to be working, and as far as I know, everything's connected out here. Now, this thing is just basically laid up here, guys, so this looks pretty rough, and I was just testing stuff. So once it's all said and done, I will button everything up real nice. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what we got here. These are all your fusible links, and we have power on both sides of all the fusible links. This is the ground for the computer, and it has ground, so it should be good there. It actually grounds to the body, and it'll ground over to the negative terminal. And down here we have the solenoid. I was going to kind of move the solenoid down and hide it. On the solenoid, we have our yellow wire attached, and we have our black and white wire attached here, and this is our starter wire. So I don't know of anything else, guys, that needs to be connected. I don't have a Foxbody right at this moment in front of me to check everything, so we're kind of at a standstill with this. So I'll go ahead and show you guys. You know, everybody does this. Everybody does this to check, make sure, you know, that you're good. But you can come in with power, and I essentially have power on this right here. And you can jump it and make this work. So, you know, like I said, we're not getting any power on this particular wire. So this is the wire. The pink wire is the one that goes back to the fuel pumps and powers it. Everything seems to be working correctly. You know, that's the thing about this. So, like I told you guys, I am not a Foxbody expert. I'm just not. You know, these are some of the things that'll really slow a project down. So I need to get this figured out so that we can move forward. But just to help a few of you that are, you know, attempting to help me here, let's talk real quick about what we have done to get to this point. So the only thing that we did with this car was put the wiring harness in. Put everything over here, hook it all up, and attempt to get the fuel pump to turn on. Fuel pump will not turn on. So as far as I know, the headlight harness does not play into this at all. From everybody that I've asked, the neutral safety switch under the car seems to be working under the dash. It's been kind of zip tied up. If you unplug it, the car will not spin over. The car will spin over right now. We also are not getting any fires. One other thing I'll show you guys real quick, maybe this will help. So I'll put you guys right here. And we're looking for spark right there. So I don't know if it did it, but typically it'll only spark when you initially hit the key, and then when you let off the key, sometimes it'll spark. Now, if you disconnect the computer, it'll sit there and just spark, just like that. So something's up with some of the wiring somewhere, and it very well could be that I have something down here, you know, hooked up wrong. All right, guys, I hate that it's one of these type videos, but it was inevitable. It was bound to happen. You know, we've hit a snag. So this video is gonna be a kind of a rough edit. But hey, all that matters is that we get this thing out and we help each other. We put this engine out of a running car in here. This particular wiring harness did not come out of that car because it is a 91. So we went with an 89 wiring harness, which should work in theory since this is an 89 car. No airbags. And that's it. We've not hooked anything else up. So nothing underneath the car has been hooked up. Only the main wiring harness up top. All right, guys, I hope we can fix this. I hope we can figure it out, because there's a lot of people on the internet that are having this same problem. So if we can get this figured out, maybe it'll help more than just me. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and do a little update here. So let's have some harness talk, if you guys don't mind. I know a lot of you have questions as to, you know, what harness do I have? You know, what's the differences between the harnesses? And there's a really good video out there, and I'll put a link to it down below. But there's a really good video where Neo Mustangs, I think so it was, talks about all the differences between the harnesses and shows them. I only have, well, two harnesses really, but one harness right here that I can show you guys. So we've already talked a little bit about the differences. with the gray and black connector. With no airbag connectors means that it's an 89 harness, as long as it has the mass air. So here we go. This is the general layout of your harness. Down here is going to be where your computer is, obviously. On these harnesses, this is going to be your 60-pin connector here. So this is what's going to screw into your computer. Now, I know a lot of you guys already know this, but this is just for maybe the newbie that's just kind of getting into this and wants to kind of know. So this is your plug right here that goes to your dash harness, and this is your ground. So you're going to have to ground this to the body of the car in here. This is for the computer ground. So next up the line is going to be your EEC relay. Now, these are not really notorious necessarily for going bad, but when they do go bad, they're almost impossible to find unless you know where they are. You're not just going to run across this thing because it is up inside the car. Now, I'm no harness nor computer expert, but I can tell you this on the computer, just a little tip. The computer does not send voltage out to operate, you know, like relays and stuff. It sends a ground signal out. So that's just, you know, something to note. If you're having like a low voltage issue, typically it's not going to be a computer issue. More than likely it's going to be a connection issue or something like that. Next up is going to be all of your smog stuff. You can just tape that up and leave that over in the corner somewhere. Unless, of course, you have all your connections, then just plug them in. But that'll be right outside your firewall. That'll be where your plug is, right there, your grommet, and then right outside of that. There's a fusible link right here, so make sure if you're having any trouble with your harness or anything like that, make sure you check both sides of this. You should have 12 volts on it. Further down the line, this will be on the passenger side of the car. You run right into your mass air connector. So this one's broken, but this is their factory mass air connector here. And next up is going to be your oxygen sensor harness right here. So that's where that's going to plug in and go into your car. This little thing right here is your wide open throttle control. So this thing has a relay that plugs into the top of it, and at wide open throttle it turns off your AC compressor. Now this little thing is notorious for doing this, for getting hot and melting and just causing all sorts of issues. So I'm going to pull this tape off right here, make sure that there's nothing touching, and rewrap this, and we'll be good to go there. All right, moving on up, this is your salt and pepper shakers. So this is going to be right there behind your engine on the firewall. So these just plug into your injector harness. Next up is going to be your MAP or BAP sensor, whichever. So that's going to plug in right on your firewall also. And this particular line right here comes out, goes under your intake, and obviously is for your distributor. So that's where that goes. Next up over here is going to be on the corner of your strut tower over there, around your strut tower area. This is going to be your body harness connector. So these are going to connect and go into your body harness that goes back into the car. Next up we have your test port, and we have a broken wire. So that's going to have to be resoldered. This little booger right here, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be our problem. I traced the black and orange wire back through the schematics and wiring diagrams and whatnot, and seems to be this sends power to the EEC, which then sends power to the fuel pump relay. So hopefully, guys, this is our problem. We will find out though. It has to be connected to the battery or either to the positive side of the solenoid. Further on down the line, we get to your coil plug right here. Now this one has been cut, so I'll have to solder this and put some heat shrink on it, but that's what that is. This is going to be your computer ground right here. So make sure you have this thing plugged in or it's not going to work. And you'll separately ground this to the body of the car somewhere. As you can see, it just kind of comes off of it, and then it also has another connection over here that needs to go to the battery terminal, so that needs to be fixed. So I have to fix that as well. And lastly is this right here. So this is going to go to your compressor, and that's it, guys. That's all that is on this harness. I just figured I'd cover that with you. There's other information out there on the internet, but there's not a lot. Surprisingly, there's just not a lot of information on these harnesses. So you know what, we may cover some more of this at some point, but for right now I just got to get this thing retaped, make sure all the connections are good. So I'm going to get my soldering iron out, and I'm going to come out here and fix some of these connections, rewrap it real quick, and we're going to throw this thing back in the car, put some juice to that black and orange wire, and guys, cross your fingers for me. Hopefully this works. I don't know, we'll see. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this. We have got the harness cleaned up enough to where we can go ahead and get it back on the car. So I didn't like resolder everything because I'm running out of daylight, and it gets really dark in here, so I'm going to need the light. But we'll address all of that later. So let's go ahead and get this thing in. Let me set the camera up and I'll show you guys how I go about doing this. All right guys, we're gonna go ahead and get this thing installed. So you wanna grab these 3 connectors together and you wanna kind of keep them tight like this and push them through this bottom hole down here. So right down there, you're gonna push these in. Now you're not really gonna be able to see a lot right here, and hopefully I won't knock the camera off, but this is a tight fit. So you just wanna take your time with it and not cut anything. So going in pretty good right now. You want to go ahead and put your relay in. Now, some of the newer harnesses, like a 91, something like that, or 90 with more wires for the sensors, are a little harder to get in. But as you can see on these, they're pretty easy. So that's where we're at, guys. We got that thing in. Now, next up, we're going to come in here on the passenger side, reach up and try to find everything. So here we go. I want to go ahead and get this EEC relay down also. And as you guys can see, barely right there is the relay. So from here, it's just, you know, hook up your ground, find your place to hook it up, and plug your computer up. So this is your connector, your green connector here. Just pop it in. And guys, that's it as far as this goes. So we have our ground attached, and now I'm going to go and hook up power. And from this point on, zip ties are your friend. You just kind of want to pull this harness back like this. That's all you're going to do. You're just going to zip tie your harness up any way you like it. So I'm just going to get it up out of the way for right now. And next up is your salt and pepper shaker. So you just match black to black. If your injector harness is already there, just line everything up, match it up. Make sure you press them all the way in. They will not connect. Thing over here is your map sensor, or BAP, whichever. So over here, you just want to match your body harness up. So gray to gray, black to black. Right here. We still have to solder these connections, but for right now, this will work. Now, I'm not going to tuck everything under because we need to make sure that this is going to work. I really shouldn't even have zip tied that stuff, but it'll be all right. You just plug everything up accordingly. And this will go under your intake to your distributor. Really, guys, that's about it. You know, you have some grounds to hook up and some other stuff, but that's pretty much it, guys. All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish connecting all this stuff up. Like I said, you're just going to hook your grounds up wherever you can, and you're going to hook your positive up where you can. So let me get all this stuff done, and then we'll go ahead and power this thing up. I mean, we're literally like 5 minutes away from trying this thing, but let me go ahead and turn the camera off, and I'll get back with you in a minute, and we will try together to see if the fuel pump works. So I got my fingers crossed, but it's probably not going to work. Either way, I'll get back to you in just a second. All right, let's go ahead and give this thing a try. Oh, man, I'm so nervous. It's like I already know the answer, but let's make sure we have a relay in, and we do. And nothing. Well, hold on, we forgot to put the computer in. Whew. All right, so let's go ahead and hook our computer up. This is pretty easy to do. Line everything up. It's not going to plug in, you have to screw it in. All right, that's it. Let's give it a try. Did you guys hear that? That's, yes, I'm so excited. Guys, that was it. That was it. Holy crap. We finally have fuel. And sorry, I can't wipe the smile off my face. This has been going on now for about 4 days. And I've been holding off on making this video because I wanted to find the problem out and then post it all in the same video for you guys. That way, you know, if I posted the video and then I found the problem out like a day later, then, you know, that wouldn't really help anybody. So in this video, we have a fix, guys. So we have a fix. And the fix was, for this particular car, the black and orange wire right here that we just kind of jumped over, that wire, yeah, it was cut. I don't know why it was cut, but it was cut. It actually has a fusible link in it. So we need to go to the auto parts store and get some fusible links to put back in the stuff to make it right. But guys, that's it. That's it. So test everything. Don't give up. If you're having wiring issues, stick it out. There are schematics online. There's diagrams, whatever you want to call them. And at first they are complicated to look at. Think about what it is that you're doing. Look at the individual components and you'll figure it out. Alright guys, we're going to end this video on a good note. Hopefully, in the next video, we'll at least try to bust this thing off. Alright guys, have a good one, and as always, thanks for watching. Let's see.